Jiho stood in the white medical room and tried not to show his fear. Through the glass wall, dozens of alien faces watched him. Some had too many eyes. Some had none at all. He had trained for this moment for 6 months. But nothing could truly prepare a person for being the first human to have their mind read by aliens. "You don't have to do this," Hannah said beside him. Her hand gripped his arm tightly. "We can find another way." "There is no other way," Jiho replied. He looked at his friend and colleague. Hannah had been studying alien biology since Earth made first contact 3 months ago. She knew more about these creatures than anyone else on the human team. If she was worried, he should be terrified. But someone had to go first. Commander Taeyong's voice crackled through the cum device in Jiho's ear. "The council is waiting. Remember your training. Stay calm. Think peaceful thoughts." Jiho almost laughed. Peaceful thoughts. He had been a medic in the resource wars. He had seen things that still woke him up screaming some nights. His mind was anything but peaceful. But the Galactic Council needed to scan a human mind before they would let humanity join. It was protocol. Every species had to prove they were mentally compatible with the other 47 races. The door on the far side of the room opened with a soft hiss. Velcrin entered. The alien moved like water flowing uphill. Its body was tall and thin, covered in what looked like crystal scales that shifted between blue and purple. 3 eyes arranged in a triangle pattern watched Jiho without blinking. Its hands had too many fingers, each one ending in a point that glowed with soft light. Velcrin had scanned over 10,000 beings from different species. The alien was famous across the galaxy for its telepathic power. Nothing had ever gone wrong during a scan. The process was supposed to be simple and painless. The human called Jiho Velcrin's voice echoed inside his head rather than his ears. "You understand what will happen?" "Yes," Jiho said out loud. "You will touch me and read my thoughts. You will see my memories. You will know if humans can be trusted. Correct?" Velcrin moved closer. The crystal fingers flexed. "I have done this many times. Do not fear. The pain is minimal. The invasion of privacy is necessary." Hannah squeezed Jiho's arm one last time, then stepped back. She joined the other 2 human diplomats against the wall. All of them looked worried. All of them were trying to hide it. Jiho focused on his breathing, like he had learned in combat medic training, in 4-4 counts. Hold for 4. Out for 4. He thought about peaceful things. He thought about the ocean on Earth. He thought about his sister's laugh. He thought about the taste of his grandmother's cooking. But underneath those thoughts, other things lurked. Memories he could never completely bury. The screaming. The blood. The faces of people he couldn't save. The guilt that followed him everywhere. His mind was a messy place, full of contradictions. He could think about beauty and horror at the same time. He could feel hope and despair in the same heartbeat. That was just being human. Velcrin's hand reached out. The crystalline fingers were cold and smooth. "This will take only moments," the telepath said. The fingers touched Jiho's temple. Everything happened at once. Velcrin's 3 eyes went wide. The purple-blue color of its scales flashed to bright red. Its mouth opened, but no words came out, only a sound that made Jiho's bones hurt. It was a scream. Not a sound of anger or surprise. A sound of pure terror. The alien's hand stayed pressed against Jiho's head for 3 seconds that felt like hours. Then Velcrin stumbled backward. Its legs gave out. The tall body crashed to the floor with a sound like breaking glass. "Velcrin," someone shouted. Jiho realized it was him. Alarms started blaring. The glass wall behind him cracked as alien observers rushed to get away. Through the cum device, Commander Taeyong was yelling orders. Hannah grabbed Jiho and pulled him back from the fallen telepath. Alien medics burst through the door. They surrounded Velcrin's still body. One of them pointed at the humans. "Get them out. Quarantine protocols. Now." Armed guards appeared from nowhere. They had weapons Jiho didn't recognize, but understood were dangerous. One guard grabbed his arm roughly and pulled him toward the door. "Wait." Jiho tried to resist. "Is Velcrin okay? What happened?" No one answered. The guards forced the humans into the hallway. More aliens lined the corridor, all of them backing away as the humans passed. Some looked angry. Some looked afraid. None of them looked friendly anymore. They were taken to a small room with metal walls and locked inside. Hannah, Jiho, and the other two diplomats stood together in silence for a long moment. "What did you think about?" Hannah finally asked. "When the telepath touched you?" Jiho tried to remember. Everything. The ocean. My grandmother. The war. My sister. What I had for breakfast. A song I heard yesterday. Whether I locked my quarters. The face of the first person I couldn't save as a medic. All of it. All at the same time. It's normal human thinking. One of the other diplomats said quietly. "We all think like that. Maybe that's the problem," Hannah whispered. Through the walls, they could hear raised alien voices. Arguments. Accusations. Fear. Jiho sat down on the floor and put his head in his hands. He had volunteered to be first because he wanted to help humanity join the galactic community. Instead, he might have just doomed the entire human race. Outside their locked room, the Galactic Council was deciding humanity's fate, and Velcrin, the most powerful telepath in the galaxy, lay unconscious, mind broken by 3 seconds of contact with a human mind. 3 days passed in the locked room. Guards brought food and water, but refused to answer questions. Jiho paced, while Hannah tried to stay calm by reading scientific reports on her datapad. The other two diplomats mostly slept or argued in whispers. Through the walls, they could sometimes hear raised voices and the sound of many footsteps rushing past. On the morning of the 4th day, the door finally opened. Commander Taeyong stood there flanked by guards. His face looked older than Jiho remembered. "Velcrin is awake," Taeyong said simply. Hannah stood up quickly. "Is the telepath okay?" "That depends on your definition of okay." The commander stepped inside. The guards stayed in the hallway but kept their weapons ready. Velcrin survived. But something happened during the scan. Something the council has never seen before. "They think we have some kind of weapon," Jiho said. It wasn't a question, Taeyong nodded. "Half the council wants to quarantine Earth permanently. The other half wants to destroy humanity before we can spread. They're calling you dangerous, unstable, incompatible with civilized species." "That's insane," Hannah protested. Jiho didn't do anything. He just stood there. "I know. But try telling that to beings who have never had a telepath scream and collapse before." Taeyong ran a hand through his gray hair. "They're separating us. Hannah, Jiho, you're both being taken for individual questioning. The rest of us are being sent back to the ship under guard." 2 different sets of guards came for them. Jiho watched Hannah being led away down one corridor while he was taken down another. She looked back at him once, fear clear in her eyes, then disappeared around a corner. They took Jiho to a different medical room. This one had restraints built into the walls and floor. He tried not to think about what that meant. A new alien entered. This one was smaller than Velcrin, with scales that stayed a steady gray color. It introduced itself as Nyrel, a junior telepath who had been studying Velcrin's condition. "I will not touch you," Nyrel said immediately. Its voice was higher pitched than Velcrin's had been. "I want to live." "I didn't mean to hurt Velcrin," Jiho said. "I don't know what happened. That's what I'm trying to understand." Nyrel pulled up a holographic display. Images appeared in the air between them. "When a telepath makes contact, we can record impressions. Fragments of what we experienced. I've examined what remains of Velcrin's scan." The images shifted. Jiho saw himself from the outside, then the view plunged inward. What appeared next made no sense. It was chaos. Colors and sounds and feelings all jumbled together. A woman's face. An explosion. The taste of food. Pain in his leg. Song lyrics in Korean. Mathematical equations. Fear, hope, guilt, wonder. All of it happening at once. Layered on top of each other like 1,000 voices screaming different words. "This is what Velcrin experienced," Jiho asked quietly. "A small fraction of it." Nyrel looked at the display with something like fear, and this was only the surface. Velcrin tried to go deeper, and that is when... when it became too much. I don't understand. This is just how I think. No. Neral turned off the display. This is not how any known species thinks. When I scan a Pleiadian, their thoughts flow like a river. One thought leads to the next in clear order. When I scan a keeper, their thoughts branch like a tree, organized and logical. Every species we know has structure, pattern, order. And humans don't. Humans have chaos. Narel's scales flickered briefly to yellow. Your mind was processing dozens of separate thought streams simultaneously. Past memories while planning, future actions while experiencing present sensations. While running through hypothetical scenarios. All at the same time. Velcrin described it as being caught in a storm where every raindrop was a different thought, and they all hit at once. Jiho sat down slowly. He had never thought of his mind as unusual. Is that why I hurt Velcrin? You did not hurt Velcrin. Velcrin hurt Velcrin by trying to process what cannot be processed. It is like trying to drink an ocean through a straw. Narel moved closer to the protective barrier between them. But this raises questions. Why do humans think this way? Is it a weapon? A disease? A mutation? It's just how we are, Jiho said. We've always been like this. Before Narel could respond, alarms started blaring again. The door burst open and guards rushed in. They grabbed Narel and pulled the smaller alien out of the room. Through the doorway, Jiho could hear shouting. He caught fragments of words. Refused the scan. Showed aggression. The female human. Hannah. They had tried to scan Hannah. Jiho stood and went to the door, but it sealed before he could reach it. He pounded on the metal. What happened? Is Hannah okay? No one answered. Hours passed. Jiho sat against the wall and tried to understand what Narel had shown him. He had never thought of his mind as chaotic. It was just his mind. He thought about multiple things at once because that was normal. Everyone did that, didn't they? Except apparently they didn't. Other species thought in neat, organized lines. One thought at a time. The idea seemed impossible to Jiho. How could you not think about the past and present and future all at once? How could you not have memories and plans and worries all running together? He remembered his time as a medic in the war, working on a wounded soldier while explosions went off nearby. His hands had worked automatically following training, while his mind tracked the sounds of battle and thought about his own family and remembered other patients and planned his next move and felt terror and determination all at the same time. That chaos had kept him alive. It had helped him save lives. Maybe human minds were chaotic, but maybe that chaos had a purpose. The door opened again. This time it was Valkr, and the tall alien looked different. Its crystal scales were dull, lacking their previous shine. It moved slowly, carefully, like someone who had been very sick. When it spoke, its mental voice was quieter than before. I need to speak with you, Jiho of Earth. I need to understand what you did to me. I didn't mean to. Velcrin raised a hand. I know. That makes it worse. You did nothing deliberately, yet you destroyed me anyway. The alien sat down across from him, staying carefully out of reach. I have scanned 10,000 minds. I have touched the thoughts of warriors and saints, geniuses and fools. Never has anything prepared me for you. Narel showed me the fragments. The chaos. Chaos. Velcrin's scales flickered weakly. Yes, but not random chaos. Organized chaos. Purposeful chaos. How do you survive it? How does your species function with minds that never stop, never rest, never simplify? Jiho thought about it. We don't know any different. This is just being human. Velcrin stared at him with those 3 unblinking eyes. Tell me about your past.
About the war.
I need to understand, so Jiho told him. About being orphaned when he was 12. About watching his city burn. About becoming a medic because he couldn't save his parents, but maybe he could save someone else. About the guilt that never went away. About learning to function despite the memories and the pain and the fear. And as he talked, Velcrin listened. The alien's scales slowly regained some of their color. When Jiho finished, Velkrin sat in silence for a long time. You carry all of that? The telepath finally said, and yet you volunteered to let me into your mind. You knew it might hurt me. You felt guilty about it, but you did it anyway because it was necessary. Yes, that is what I could not understand. That is what broke me. Velkrin stood slowly. Humans can act despite pain, despite fear, despite guilt. Your chaos gives you that ability. And I do not know if the galaxy is ready for that. The alien left without another word. Jiho was alone again with his chaotic human thoughts. The council chamber was enormous. Jiho had seen it through video feeds before, but standing inside it was different. The room curved up and around like being inside a giant sphere. Hundreds of seats floated at different levels, each one holding a representative from a different alien species. They all stared down at him. Velkrin stood at the center of the chamber on a platform that glowed softly. The telepath looked stronger now, 5 days after the failed scan. Its scales had regained most of their shine, shifting between blue and purple as it spoke. I have asked the council to hear my testimony, Velkrin said. Its mental voice echoed through the chamber so all could hear. What happened to me was not an attack. It was not a weapon. It was simply contact with a human mind. A being made entirely of what looked like living metal spoke up. You collapsed. You screamed. You were unconscious for 3 days. This was simply contact? Yes. Velkrin turned slowly, looking at the assembled council. I have scanned minds across the galaxy. I believed I had experienced every form of consciousness that existed. I was wrong. The human mind is unlike anything we have encountered. Hannah stood beside Jiho at the edge of the platform. She had been brought to the chamber an hour before. She whispered to him without moving her lips much. They tried to scan me too. 3 telepaths working together with some kind of dampening technology. It still overwhelmed them. Jiho wanted to ask if she was okay, but Velkrin was still speaking. Let me explain what I experienced, the telepath continued. When I touch most minds, I perceive a stream. Thoughts flow from one to the next, past to present to future. There is order, sequence, logic. A holographic display appeared above the platform. It showed what looked like a river of light, flowing smoothly in one direction. This is a typical mind, Velkrin said. Clear, organized, comprehensible. The display changed. Now, it showed chaos. Dozens of streams, all flowing at once, crossing over each other, splitting and merging, moving in different directions. Colors flashed and changed. The image made Jiho's eyes hurt to watch. This is a human mind. Gasps and clicks and sounds Jiho had no name for filled the chamber. The assembled aliens stared at the display in what looked like horror or fascination, or both. They think in parallel streams, Velkrin explained. Not one thought at a time. Dozens, hundreds, all simultaneously active. When I touched Jiho's mind, I experienced his current conversation with me. His memories of war, his concern for his colleague, his hope for the future, his guilt about the past, his assessment of threats in the room, a song playing in his memory, and approximately 40 other active thought processes. All at the same time? It is impossible, the metal being said. No organic mind can process that much information simultaneously without collapse. Human minds can. Human minds do. Every moment of every day. Velkrin gestured at Jiho and Hannah. They're doing it right now. Even as they listen to me speak, they are thinking about multiple other things. Observing the room, planning responses, remembering similar situations, worrying about outcomes, all while appearing to simply stand and listen. Jiho realized Velkrin was right. Even now, part of his mind tracked the exits. Part wondered if Hannah was safe. Part remembered his training. Part planned what to say if called on. Part worried about Earth. Part noticed that one alien in the upper seats had moved closer. All of these thoughts ran together like different instruments in an orchestra. This chaos you describe, another council member spoke. This one resembling a floating collection of roots. How do they function? How do they make decisions? That is what I am still trying to understand. Velkrin's scales flickered to a darker blue. But I believe I have a theory. I consulted with other telepaths and with human xenobiologists. We believe humans evolved this way out of necessity. A new alien appeared on the platform. This one was smaller, with scales that stayed gray. Jiho recognized Niral. May I explain? Niral asked Velkrin. Please. Niral pulled up new holographic displays. Humans evolved on a planet called Earth. We have studied their history. Their ancestors were hunters who tracked prey across vast distances for days or weeks. Their brains needed to remember trails while watching for dangers, while planning ahead while staying alert. They could not afford to think in simple streams. The displays showed images of ancient humans running across plains, following animals. Later, they became social creatures, living in complex groups. They needed to track relationships, remember past interactions, predict behavior, plan alliances, all while surviving immediate threats. Their minds adapted to process all of this at once. But their world is peaceful now, the metal being objected. Why do their minds still work this way? Evolution is slow, Hannah said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. She stepped forward, her voice steady, despite the hundreds of alien eyes watching. Our bodies and minds evolved over millions of years. We've only had cities and technology for a few thousand. Our brains still work like we're tracking prey and avoiding predators, even when we're in safe environments. The female human is correct, Niral agreed. Modern humans carry ancient survival mechanisms. Their minds never stop analyzing threats, even when no threats exist. They plan for futures that may never happen. They remember past pains to avoid future ones. The result is constant simultaneous mental activity. Velkrin moved to stand beside the display of chaotic streams. This is why it collapsed. I tried to follow all the streams at once. I tried to process everything a human processes naturally. My mind could not handle it. But humans live with this every day. They must be constantly exhausted, someone said from the upper seats. They are, Velkrin replied. Humans require sleep more than most species. They suffer from conditions they call anxiety and depression when their parallel thoughts become too much. They invented practices called meditation to try to quiet their minds, but they cannot turn it off, ever. Go. Felt exposed. Everything Velkrin said was true. His mind never truly rested. Even when he tried to sleep, thoughts kept coming. Memories, plans, worries, ideas, an endless stream he had learned to live with because he had no choice. This seems like a terrible burden, the root-like alien said. Why would we welcome a species that suffers this way? Because Velkrin said quietly, their chaos gives them abilities we lack. The telepath pulled up more displays. Humans can hold contradictory thoughts simultaneously. They can feel fear and act with courage at the same time. They can know something is impossible and try anyway. They can experience grief and hope in the same heartbeat. This makes them unpredictable, creative, resilient. It makes them dangerous, the metal being said. Perhaps Velkrin agreed. But consider this. Every species here thinks in organized patterns. When we face a problem, we analyze it logically and choose the best solution from available options. Humans do this too, but they also run dozens of other possible solutions simultaneously, including ones that seem illogical or impossible. Sometimes those impossible solutions work. Niral added more data to the displays. We scanned Hannah's mind as well. She appeared calm on the outside. Inside, she was running multiple scenarios for this meeting. Analyzing each of your body languages, remembering similar situations from human history, planning responses to questions we had not yet asked, and maintaining awareness of 17 separate details about the room, all while appearing to simply stand quietly. Hannah smiled slightly. It's just how we think. We can't help it. No, you cannot, Velkrin said, and that is both fascinating and frightening. An ancient-looking being in the highest seat spoke for the first time. Its voice was deep and slow. I am Terran of the Preservers. We are the oldest species in this council. We seeded life across many worlds. We created most of the species represented here, carefully designing their minds for peaceful cooperation and logical thought. Oh. Jiho felt his heart sink. If this ancient being had created other species, what would it think of humans? We did not create humans, Terran continued. Earth was beyond our reach. Life there evolved naturally, without our guidance. I have watched this debate with great interest. The chamber fell silent. The question before us, Terran said slowly, is whether we welcome the wildfire or fear it will burn our garden. Humans are chaos incarnate, unpredictable, difficult to understand, dangerous in ways we cannot fully calculate. Jiho wanted to speak, to defend humanity. But his voice caught in his throat. They are also, Terran continued, exactly what this council has lacked for 10,000 years. We have created a garden of peace and order. But gardens can become stagnant. Perhaps it is time for something wild to enter our perfect rose. Hope flared in Jiho's chest, running alongside fear and uncertainty and a dozen other emotions all at once. The council vote was delayed. Not canceled, just delayed. Terran's words had created debate rather than ending it. Half the council wanted more information. The other half wanted to vote immediately, though they were split on whether to accept or reject humanity. Jiho and Hannah were moved to better quarters. Not quite free, but not quite prisoners anymore. They had windows now. They could see the stars and the massive stations stretching out around them. Commander Taeyong visited them with updates, though there was rarely news. They are arguing in circles, Taeyong said on the 5th day. Some species are fascinated by human minds. Others are terrified. The preservers remain neutral, which apparently is unusual for them. What happens if they vote to reject us? Hannah asked. Taeyong's expression darkened. Best case, Earth gets quarantined. No contact with the galaxy. We stay isolated forever. Worst case? He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. On the 7th day, Velkrin visited. The telepath moved more like its old self now, though its scales were still duller than they had been. The council has proposed a new test, Velkrin said. They want to observe human minds under different emotional states, to understand if your chaos can be controlled or if it is constant. What kind of test? Jiho asked. They want to scan a human during various activities, calm activities, stressful activities, creative activities. They want to map how your parallel thinking changes under different conditions. Hannah stood up from her chair. And if we refuse, then the council votes with incomplete information. Many will vote to reject out of fear of the unknown. If you cooperate, there is a chance to prove humans can coexist with other species. Jiho and Hannah looked at each other. They didn't need to speak. They had worked together long enough to communicate with expressions and small gestures. This might be humanity's only chance. I'll do it, Hannah said. Oh, Jiho protested. I already went first. You went first because you're brave and self-sacrificing. That's your chaos talking. Let me go because I'm a scientist and I actually want to understand this. Hannah smiled. Besides, your mind is full of war trauma. Mine is full of aliens and biology. Maybe it will be easier on them. It wasn't easier. They set up the test in a medical lab with every safety measure the council could devise. 3 telepaths worked together instead of 1. They used dampening technology to reduce the intensity of the scan. They only went surface level, never deep. And they still struggled. Jiho watched through the observation window as Hannah sat calmly in a chair. She was reading a scientific paper about Pleiadian biology. She looked completely relaxed. The 3 telepaths stood around her, hands hovering near but not quite touching her head. Their faces showed strain. What are they experiencing? Taeyong asked Velkrin, who stood beside them. Everything, Velkrin replied. Hannah appears calm. She is reading. But simultaneously, she is analyzing the room for dangers. Remembering similar papers she has read, planning her next research project, wondering if Jiho is watching. Composing a message to her family in her mind, running through possible questions the council might ask later. At least 30 separate active thought processes, all running perfectly in parallel. On the display screens, holographic visualizations showed the chaos. Streams of thought in different colors all flowing at once. Sometimes they merged, sometimes they split, but they never stopped. One of the telepaths stepped back, trembling. Its scales had gone pale. The other two continued, but Jiho could see them struggling. They had Hannah perform different tasks. She worked on mathematical problems. Her mind split into streams of calculation while simultaneously running unrelated. Thoughts about her childhood and whether she had left a light on in her quarters. They had her watch a sad video. She cried while her mind analyzed the cinematography and wondered what alien emotions looked like and thought about her own past losses and planned her evening meal. Emotion and logic running together without interference. They had her exercise. She ran on a treadmill while her mind tracked her heart rate and remembered training runs on Earth and composed poetry and planned her next. Conversation with Jiho. Physical. Exertion did not slow her mental chaos at all. Finally, they asked her to meditate, to clear her mind, to think of nothing. She tried. She closed her eyes and focused on her breathing. But even meditation did not stop it. Her mind still ran multiple streams. She was aware of her breathing while also thinking about breathing while remembering other meditations, while wondering if she was doing it right, while noticing sounds in the room while planning tomorrow. The chaos continued, just slightly quieter. The telepath stopped the test after 6 hours. All three looked exhausted. One of them needed medical assistance. "I'm sorry," Hannah said, as they helped the weakened telepath out of the room. "I tried to think more simply. I really did." "You cannot," Velkrin said. "That is what we learned. Human minds cannot be simplified. The parallel processing is not a choice. It is fundamental to how you are built." A new alien appeared in the observation room. Jiho recognized it from the council chamber. Soren, a scientist who had been taking notes throughout the previous session. "I have a theory," Soren announced. Its voice clicked and whistled. "Based on the scans and the human biological data, may I present it to the council?" "Please," Velkrin said. 2 days later, Soren presented to the full council. Jiho and Hannah were required to attend. "I have studied human evolution extensively," Soren began. "Their chaos is not random. It is highly specialized survival adaptation. Consider their ancestors. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. They did not catch prey with speed or strength. They caught prey by following it for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. The displays showed ancient humans running across grasslands. To do this, they needed to track footprints while navigating terrain, while conserving energy, while staying alert for dangers, while remembering the path back home, while planning for different outcomes if the prey escaped. One stream of thought was not enough. They needed parallel processing. More images appeared. Later, humans formed complex social groups. Survival depended on understanding relationships. Who was allied with whom? Who was trustworthy? Who was a threat? They needed to track dozens of social variables simultaneously while also hunting and gathering and watching for predators. So their minds evolved to handle multiple priorities at once, Terran said from the highest seat. "Exactly," Soren confirmed. And this ability never stopped being useful. Even in modern times, humans face complex social situations, environmental variables, and planning needs that benefit from parallel thinking. The chaos we find overwhelming is their normal operational state. But what about stress? The metal being asked. Surely this constant mental activity damages them. "It does," Hannah spoke up. "We have mental health issues, anxiety, depression, exhaustion. Our minds can overwhelm us. We have to develop coping strategies just to function. But we adapt," Jiho added. "We've learned to use our chaos. When I was a medic in the war, that parallel thinking kept me alive. I could work on a patient while tracking sounds of battle, while planning escape routes, while staying calm under pressure, all at once. Other species might find that impossible. For humans, it's just Tuesday." Some of the council members made sounds that might have been laughter. Velcrin stepped forward. I believe humans represent what consciousness becomes when pushed to its absolute limits. Most species, including those created by the preservers, were designed for peaceful cooperation, logical thought, organized minds. Humans evolved in chaos, so their minds became chaos. They are not better or worse than us. They are different. Different and dangerous, someone muttered. Different and valuable, Velcrin countered. They think in ways we cannot. They solve problems we would never consider. They act when we would still be analyzing. Their chaos is frightening, yes. But it is also exactly what makes them human.
Aaron
Stood slowly in the highest seat. The ancient being's movement silenced the chamber. I have lived for thousands of your years, Terran said. I have seen species rise and fall. I have watched the garden we built flourish in peace, and I have watched it become stagnant. We solve problems the same way every time because we all think in similar patterns. Perhaps it is time for new patterns. Perhaps it is time for chaos. The chamber erupted in debate. Voices for and against humanity shouted over each other. The vote was scheduled for the next day. That night, Geo couldn't sleep. His mind ran through every possible outcome, every scenario, every hope and fear at once. It was torture. It was exhausting. It was being human, and somewhere in the chaos, he found peace with that. The vote was scheduled to begin at noon station time. Jiho woke early and found Hannah already awake, staring out the window at the stars. Neither of them spoke. There was nothing left to say. Humanity's fate would be decided by beings who found human minds, comprehensible and frightening. Commander Tai Young arrived at their quarters with breakfast. He looked tired. The council is split almost exactly in half. Terran and the preservers hold the deciding votes. No one knows which way they'll go, so we wait, Jiho said. We wait. But at 11:30, alarms started blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors. Tai Young's communication device erupted with panicked voices. What's happening? Hannah asked. Tai Young listened to the chatter, his expression growing darker. Mining station, Meridian 7. It's 40,000 kilometers from here. They're reporting catastrophic system failures. Life support is failing. 300 beings on board. Mostly civilians. Can they evacuate? Jiho was already moving toward the door. The evacuation ships were in a docking bay that's been destroyed. They're trapped. Okay. Tai Young followed him into the corridor. The council is calling an emergency session. They ran through the station. Guards tried to stop them, but Tai Young overrode them with authority Jiho didn't know he had. They reached the council chamber just as the session began. The main display showed Meridian 7. The mining station was breaking apart in space. Atmosphere vented from multiple hull breaches. Fires burned in sections that still had oxygen. The distress signals were chaotic and desperate. We need rescue ships. Immediately, someone was saying, calculating optimal approach vectors. Another voice replied, probability of successful rescue is 23%. A third voice stated, the station will experience total structural failure in 90 minutes. Travel time to the station is 40 minutes. That leaves 50 minutes for evacuation. Insufficient time for standard procedures? The council fell silent. Giho watched their faces. They were calculating, analyzing, trying to find a logical solution. The problem was, there wasn't one. Not a logical one. We should send what help we can, Terran said slowly. But we must accept that many will die. The mathematics are clear. No. Jiho didn't realize he had spoken until everyone turned to look at him. The human speaks out of turn, the metal being said. Let him speak, Velcrin said. The telepath was staring at Jiho with all three eyes. I want to hear this. Jiho stepped forward onto the platform. Hannah and Tai Young followed. You said 90 minutes until total failure? You said 40 minutes travel time? That's 50 minutes to get people out. Yes, insufficient time using standard evacuation protocols. Then don't use standard protocols. Jiho pulled up the station schematics on the display. His mind was already racing through scenarios. 20 different plans forming at once. Most wouldn't work, but some might. The docking bay is destroyed, but there are cargo airlocks here, here, and here. We can use those. The cargo airlocks are not designed for personnel evacuation, Soren objected, so we improvise. Nott was at his side now, her own mind clearly running parallel calculations. We can use emergency pressure suits. Group evacuations instead of individual. It'll be dangerous, but it's possible. The fires in sections 9 through 14 will spread, the metal being pointed out. Blocking escape routes. Then we vent those sections early, Taeyang said. Controlled decompression. Use the fire's own oxygen consumption against them. The council stared at them. Jiho realized they were thinking in ways the council couldn't. The aliens were trying to find the one correct solution. The humans were running dozens of solutions simultaneously, mixing and matching pieces from different plans, incorporating improvisation and risk in ways that made logical species uncomfortable. This plan has a 47% chance of failure, someone calculated. Better than 100%. Jiho shot back. Those people are going to die if we sit here calculating perfect solutions that don't exist. He's right, Velkrin said quietly. We are paralyzed by our need for logical certainty. Humans can act without certainty. That is their chaos-focused.
Understood.
The humans will lead the rescue operation. All available ships will follow their command. Council members with relevant expertise will assist. We have 40 minutes. Move. The chamber erupted into action. Ships were scrambled. Emergency teams assembled. Jiho found himself in a command shuttle surrounded by aliens who looked at him with uncertainty and hope. The trip to Meridian 7 felt endless and instantaneous at the same. Jiho's mind ran through the plan over and over, adjusting for new information, preparing for failures, planning backup options. Hannah sat beside him, doing the same. They didn't need to speak. They were both running the same chaotic calculations. When they arrived, the station was worse than the reports suggested. Whole sections were gone. The structure groaned and twisted. They had maybe 40 minutes before it tore itself apart. Team 1, Cargo Airlock Alpha, Jiho ordered. Team 2, Airlock Beta. Team 3, you're with me on Airlock Gamma. Commander Taeyang, coordinate from the shuttle. Hannah, you're managing the fire suppression. That's not standard command structure, an alien protested. There's nothing standard about this, Taeyang replied. Follow his orders. They worked with desperate speed. The cargo airlocks weren't meant for this. They had 2 jury-rig connections, override safety protocols, and push equipment past its design limits. Exactly the kind of improvisation that made logical species nervous. The first group came through Airlock Alpha. 20 beings crammed into a space meant for cargo pods. Not safe, not elegant, but alive. Section 12 is venting, Hannah reported. Fire spreading to 13. Vent 13 now, Jiho ordered. Better no air than burning air. That section still has people in it, someone objected, and get them out fast. 2 minutes before I vent. It was chaos. Pure chaos. But it was organized chaos. Human chaos. Plans changed minute by minute as new problems appeared. The aliens on the rescue team struggled to keep up with the constant adjustments, but they tried. They adapted. They learned to trust the human ability to function in uncertainty. GOE was everywhere at once, helping at the airlocks, monitoring the station stability, coordinating teams, planning 3 steps ahead while reacting to current crises. His mind tracked dozens of variables simultaneously. It was exhausting. It was overwhelming. It was exactly what was needed. 30 minutes, Taeyang called. Structure critical. They had evacuated 200 people. 100 remained. We're not going to make it, someone said. Yes, we are. Jiho pulled up new schematics. There's an old mining tunnel that connects sections 4 and 6. It's been sealed, but we can blow it open. Use it as an express route to Airlock Beta. The tunnel hasn't been used in years. It could be unstable. It's unstable or it's not. We won't know until we try. Do it. They blew the tunnel. It held. 70 people came flooding through in 10 minutes. 20 minutes, Taeyang warned. Station is breaking up. 30 people left. 3 different sections. Not enough time to get them all through the main airlocks? What about the damaged docking bay? Hannah suggested. It's open to space, but if we position shuttles right there, people could just jump across the gap in pressure suits. Jump across open space from a disintegrating station. The metal being sounded horrified. You have a better idea with 15 minutes left? Ji-ho was already sending shuttles to position. Tell those people to suit up and jump. We'll catch them. It shouldn't have worked. It was desperate and dangerous and completely insane by any logical standard. It worked. Beings in pressure. Suits leaped from the broken docking bay into space. Shuttles caught them with tractor beams and magnetic grapples. Some tumbled. Some missed. But human pilots, with chaos-drained reflexes, compensated in real time, adjusting, improvising, succeeding. 5 minutes, Taeyang called. All teams evacuate now, Ji-ho counted as the last shuttle pulled away. 297. They had saved 297 out of 300. 3 had died in the initial explosions. Before rescue even began, they had saved everyone who could be saved. Meridian 7 tore itself apart 30 seconds later. The mining station that had housed 300 beings became expanding debris. But those beings were safe, scared, injured in some cases, but alive. The rescue shuttles returned to the main station in silence. Ji-ho sat with his head in his hands, the adrenaline draining away, leaving only exhaustion. His mind still raced with what-ifs and could-have-beens and parallel scenarios that didn't happen. It would be hours before his thoughts calmed even slightly. When they docked, the entire council was waiting. Velkrin approached first. The telepath looked at Ji-ho with something like wonder. You saved them, Velkrin said simply. We tried, Ji-ho replied. Lost 3. You saved 297 beings that our calculations said could not be saved. You did it by acting without certainty, by improvising, by accepting risk, by using your chaos. One of the survivors came forward, a young Pleiadian whose scales shifted nervously. I am Doyon. I was on Meridian 7. The humans saved us. They did not calculate whether we were worth saving. They did not analyze probability of success. They simply acted. They simply helped Saran descended from the upper platform. The ancient preserver moved slowly until it stood before Ji-ho, Hannah, and Taeyang.